Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another edition of the Spurs Chat podcast. I'm outside the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium and we are recording this podcast as Tottenham Hotspur have just beaten the Norwegian side, Bodø Glimt, 3-1 here at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Absolutely delighted with the win. And Postecoglou has just said, I think it puts us in a good position. I thought the players were outstanding today. I thought the performance was everything it needed to be. And as Postecoglou has also said, I thought the supporters today were outstanding. Now, we're live on YouTube, X, Facebook and Twitch, so please do get involved. Let us know how you are feeling right now as a Tottenham Hotspur fan. Happy, I'm assuming. 1 foot in the final in Bilbao. A number of Tottenham Hotspur fans were singing about Bilbao this evening. Absolutely brilliant. The atmosphere today inside the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium was simply incredible as well. We are very proud to be the most watched Tottenham Hotspur fan channel on YouTube and, of course, part of the TalkSport fan network. And nearly 4.5 million people, you guys, watched the channel in April. So thank you so much for all of your incredible support. Now, let's get into it. Let's introduce the guests. We've got Ricky Norwood back with us. Ricky, how are you?
I am buzzing, my friend. I am buzzing. Listen, we're through. We're not through. We're not through. But we're close. We're so close. We're so close. We are so close. My goodness, did we need that? My goodness, did we need it? My goodness, did we need it? All right. So many times in Tottenham's history, when we need them to get over the line, when we need to see a performance, when we need to pull together, we
Ricky,
always stumble.
We'll talk about the football in a minute. This was just a very quick hello.
I'm just buzzing. I'm just buzzing. All right, we'll get into it. Good to be back. Good to be on with you, beautiful gentlemen, and good to be with all you beautiful people around the world. Make sure you comment. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you do the damn thing. Get involved. We're through. Let's have it. No, we're not through, but we're through. But we're not, but close.
Well, Ricky talks about international viewers. This is an international podcast because, of course, Terry Kim is back with us all the way from New York. Terry, how are you?
I'm doing very well. Thank you, Chris. Hope you are as well. Thank you for having me on again, especially after such an important game like this. Thank you for all your kind of pre-match content that you're showing. It kind of helped me feel like I was at the game, seeing your videos of the tifo and the flags. I really, really wanted to be there. Unfortunately, just work didn't let it happen. And thank you for hosting again so late at night. I know it's really late there in London. Gareth, again, it's great to see you again. I can't wait to dissect the game with you. And then last but not least, Ricky. To the viewers, I was telling Ricky backstage that he's one of the reasons why I started following the channel. Just your unwavering positivity and your just general good vibes have really helped kind of get us through a lot of the dark Tottenham days, which unfortunately there's been a lot of recently. Yeah. So thank you for that. So I'm buzzing to be on with you three gentlemen.
Terry, thank you so much for joining us. And also back with us is Gareth McGuinness all the way from Ireland. Gareth, how are you this evening?
All good, Chris. Delighted to be back on. Of course, I think I've done a couple of podcasts with Terry now, and Terry's a very, very good channel regular. I always enjoy when Terry's on, and Ricky's just entertainment. Ricky is the entertainment. So, what a panel! What a night! Spurs are one step away from Bilbao, so it's been a very, very good night.
Well, inside the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, for those that haven't booked the final, I did actually see a number of phones going where a number of fans were booking flights to the final. I know Ricky's already said we're there. We're not through yet. We've still got the away leg in Norway next week, which is going to be a very, very difficult tie, which I'm sure we'll talk about them scoring, to make it 3-1. I feel like the mood inside the Spurs stadium this evening came down a little bit because of Bodø Glimt scoring that goal, because I think a lot of fans wanted that 3-goal cushion, but of course we go into the away leg with a 2-goal cushion, and I feel like that is going to be a very, very difficult game, but we'll talk about that later on. So of course, let's get into it. Tottenham Hotspur 3, Bodø Glimt 1. Brennan Johnson, I tell you what a start of the Spurs stadium today. Brennan Johnson putting Spurs 1-0 up in the first minute, the assist from Richarlison. James Maddison making it 2-0 on 34 minutes. Pedro Porro with the assist. Dominic Solanke making it 3-0. This time in the second half on 61 minutes. And then Saltnes making it 3-1 on 83 minutes for Bodø Glimt. Now, the other result this evening in the Europa League semi-finals, Athletic Club Bilbao 0, Manchester United 3. I know certainly a lot of people around me inside the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium this evening were very, very surprised by that scoreline. Now, before we get the thoughts of the panel on this evening's game, there is a new app that I'd like to tell you about. Here we go. Let's go. Hi everyone, before we get into it, I'd just like to tell you about a brand new app. It's called Match Bingo. You can play along with live sports and Spurs matches and you could win cash prizes. Watch your card fill up in real time whilst watching Tottenham. Make sure that you get your bingo card for our next game. Click on the link in the description or via the QR code. Real sports, real bingo, great prizes. Enjoy. Now, your bingo card will fill up very, very quickly being a Tottenham Hotspur fan because they are just full of incidents. Ricky,
wait. Do we get discount? Do we? What do we get? Like, where is our bring into the bingo? Like, wait, like, do you know what I mean? I didn't know about this advert. I didn't know what was going on. So, what do we get? What is it
Absolutely.
called? Bingo match.
Ricky,
matching the bingo. I'm gonna match all the bingo. You need to hook us up, bro. You need to hook us up. I mean, come
absolutely.
on.
This is right up your street as well. So we will talk tomorrow. We will talk tomorrow and get you an account set up, and you will be up and running. But as I said, it's all about match incidents, and which of course we'll talk about this evening's match incidents. But you'll literally cross them off your bingo card, and you could be a big winner.
All right,
Ricky. Now, how are you feeling right now? Because Spurs have just won 3-1 in the first leg in the semi-finals. I'm going to say it now, and I know a lot of people will probably go, oh, my God. But I actually booked my flights to Bilbao a couple of weeks ago. And, because I saw the prices going up ridiculously. So I got a very good deal. I've booked my flight to the final. A lot of people I know have booked their flight to the final. I feel confident that Spurs are going to go through to the final and play either Athletic Bilbao or Manchester United. After tonight's result, it does look like it's going to be Manchester United. That's another thing to talk about because we've played them 3 times this season and won all 3 times. Can it be a fourth? But Ricky, let's get your opinion on the game today, your opinion on the win today. Very happy?
Oh, mate. Relieved, happy, ecstatic. A little bit emotional for various reasons tonight. Had various glitches tonight with my connection and stuff like that. So there was loads of emotions going. But you know what? Like we all know how horrendous our league season has been, and we know what we've been through. And we was all hoping that once our players came back, league would pick up. And every time we have a positive, we have 2 negatives kick us in the ribs and kick us in the backside. And we're all clinging, we're all hoping, we're all wishing that we can do something this year and that we can finally win something. And I know there was a lot of fans in seasons gone by that have said, I will take 17th and a trophy. And it ends up being this year, that reality is actually hits in the face. And we've seen how hard it is to take. And it's horrendous. Yeah. It's unacceptable. But tonight was special, man. Tonight was special. This morning, I just saw Bergvall start hobbling off there on crutches. And this morning, there were rumors that he might be out and stuff like that. And I was praying, I was wishing and hoping that wasn't true. But to see him out of the squad altogether and see him hobbling off like that, I was just like, But look how far we've come, where we can look at Bergvall and miss him, and we can look at our team and go, the team might lack a little something without him. But tonight, every man stood up. Every man stood up and said, no, we want this. We want to achieve something. We're fed up of losing. We're fed up of being a joke. We're fed up of all of the pain that you fans have gone through, and we've had to suffer week in, week out. This is the thing that we're going to go for, and we're going to show you how much we're going to go for it. And all of them, I can't really say a bad word about anybody, really. all of them came together, and the fans were damn amazing. The tifos, the flags, the songs, the noise. You guys, you know, Chris, I don't know how you feel being in there, bro, because I'm going to go back to that Guna game under Conte for the atmosphere and the feel, and how special it is, especially in that new stadium. You know, it was very, very special. And yes, it's not over yet. It's not over yet, but these boys showed us that they can do it when it comes down to it. And they've shown us that they're up for it. They've shown us that they want it. They've shown us that they have felt hurt, but this was their moment to go out there and shine. And thank goodness we took I wanted the 3-0 too. I called 3-0 today. But okay, we got a little saltiness in our wounds because we are Spurs. You know what I mean? We are Tottenham Hotspurs, and those things happen because nothing comes to us the easy way. We always got to go for it the hard way. And even though we go up against Bodø next week, 3-1 up, you know, I'm sure there's going to still be nerves, and I'm sure there's still going to be uncertainty. But it's not about that right now. The same way that whole crowd was together and they sung together and they stood together and they cheered that team on together, it's that time to do the same. Whatever happens on the weekend against West Ham, it doesn't really matter anymore. And I know it does matter, but it doesn't really matter. Stay together. We are stronger. We are so much more powerful when we are together, and when we've got a smile on our faces, and when we're cheering, and when we're lifting those boys to greatness. We're on the verge of it right now. Believe, Tottenham fans. Believe, Tottenham fans. You know, it's okay to believe. I know we've been hurt many a time, and it's scary for me to believe, but it's time. It's time. So let's go get it. Come on, you damn Spurs.
Ronnie writes here, Cowlin acting like we're in the final. Bodø will do us 3-0. Oh, come on, Ronnie. You know,
come on, Ronnie.
When we have a win like this, come on, please just enjoy it.
And that's the thing. There was a couple of people that I heard. There was a couple of fans that were hoping that we'd lose tonight because of the whole drama of Ange. And you know what?
Ricky,
sometimes you got to throw those vibes out the window, man. Sometimes when there's something this special, when you don't want the players to go out there and foul, when you don't want the manager to go out there, you've got to throw that shizer to the side. Do you know what I mean? And go, come on, you Spurs. It's in the name.
There certainly wasn't anyone inside the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium today who wanted Spurs to lose, because I tell you what, we talk about player performances. The atmosphere was incredible. It was electric. And I tell you what, Terry actually plugged one of my videos earlier, and Terry, thank you. But I don't normally shamelessly, promote these videos to say go and watch it. But I tell you what, it's goosebumps. Go and watch it. A video that I posted earlier on YouTube, and it's about 8 minutes long, and it's the whole build-up of the players coming out the tunnel, the fans singing. It was incredible. I looked around and just felt so proud of the team. And you've rightly said, Ricky, it has been a very, very hard season in the Premier League, but a night like this was a special one. And yes, it's going to be a difficult game going away to Bodø Glimt in Norway next week. But I tell you what, we got the job done today, and I'm very, very proud of that performance. Every single player performance. I thought that Ange got it right today as well. And let me go through the match stats before we come to you, Terry, because Bodø Glimt, of course, scored 1 goal this evening, and it was their only shot actually on target. Here are the official stats. Tottenham Hotspur with 41.8% of the ball, Bodø Glimt 58.2%. Shots, Spurs had a staggering 24 to Bodø Glimt's 3. Shots on target, Spurs 7, Bodø 1. Total touches inside the box, Spurs 42 to Bodø's 8. Goalkeeper saves, Vicario 0, Bodø Glimt 4. Fouls, Spurs 12, Bodø Glimt 7. And corners, Spurs 13, Bodø Glimt 1. And before I forget, I actually bumped into Stefan Everson and Eric Torsvedt this evening as well. Nice to have a quick chat with them. Terry, let's come to you. Let's get your thoughts on today's game and performance.
Wait, you can't just slip that in. Wait, Terry, wait. You can't just... Do you see how he does that? Do you see
Ricky,
how he does that?
Let's have a conversation later.
Just for a second. Listen, I've been drinking. I don't care. Do you know what I mean? For a second, can you just tell me what it's like, Chris, when you bump into these guys Because you've seen me with them, yeah? You've seen me with them, and I don't want to speak. I turn into a 12-year-old girl that's like, no, it's fine. No, leave me alone. It's fine. It's absolutely fine.
Do you know, let me tell everyone, the only time I've ever seen Ricky Norwood stuck for words and really quiet and go into a shell is when he met Glenn Hoddle. And I was like, you're all right. You're all right. And he's like, all shy. And I was like, this isn't my friend. Where's my friend gone?
I listen, I can't do it. Like, what's it like for you though, bro? What is it like for you bumping into these guys? Like, because come on, man.
It's amazing. And of course, Eric Torsvedt was in the team that last won the FA Cup with Spurs in '91. And an incredible goalkeeper. Of course, Norway connections, a former Norway international, former Tottenham Hotspur legend. They were on the pitch at half time, both of those, talking about the game this evening and about their careers, etc. So it's always lovely to see ex-players. I always love to talk about, you know me, Ricky. I talk about Tottenham all day long to everyone. But when you meet ex-players and, lucky enough sometimes to meet current players and you talk about their careers, etc. It's wonderful.
Oh man! All right, sorry, Terry. Come on, sunshine.
Come on, Terry. Give us your thoughts on the game and about the performance and the result.
Yeah, going into today's game, I was honestly a bit apprehensive because I felt like there was a lot of confidence on the Spurs fan side, on the Spurs side. There was a lot in the news about all the suspensions and the injuries on the Bodø Glimt side. And I feel like whenever that happens, more often than not, Spurs tend to underestimate our opponents. And we didn't do that tonight. We did not underestimate them. We were physical, we were aggressive, we were fast. I feel like we won the vast majority of the 50-50s. What was somewhat surprising for me was just kind of how direct we were on the ball, especially in that first half. I mean, I think this season too often we've just seen a lot of possession without any intent. How much of that horseshoe passing back and forth have we seen? And today, just the crosses coming in and the over-the-top balls, I think that was causing havoc for Bodø, especially in that first half. So in that first half especially, I felt like we looked threatening every time that we had the ball. And it could easily been much more than just 2-0. In the second half, we definitely took our foot off the pedal a bit. I felt like we lost a lot of that killer instinct and positive intent. Even when I saw Tell come on, I questioned it a bit at the time, just because I thought Richarlison had a really, really bright first half and was the instigator for a lot of the positive impetus in that first half. And even in hindsight, I'm now questioning that move because of how good Richarlison was in that second half. I was hoping to be happier. I thought we would be happier. That last goal, it was such against the run of play too. I mean, the 24 shots to 3. I mean, I don't feel like 3-1 really was that fair of a result. It really felt more like a 4-0 or a 5-0. So it's like that was just a bit deflating. Just what's worrying me going forward. So I heard an interview with a Norwegian journalist this week who's both a Bodø and a Tottenham fan. And he said that if Bodø got out of here with a 2-0 loss, that they would be happy. I don't know if I really believe him, but that is what happened. So it's 3-1. I was somewhat dismayed and surprised to see the Bodø players and the coach's reaction after the game. There were a lot of smiles on their side. So I don't think they think we're out of this at all. I do think we have one leg in this, but I think next week is going to be very, very, very tough. I mean, I think back to that Tamworth game where we didn't score until very, very late in the game. We had a lot of problems with that pitch, and Bodø is a much better team than Tamworth is. So I love the energy and the way they came out today, but I think we need to have that first half performance all of next week going there, because I don't think it's going to be easy next week.
Terry, walking from the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium to the car, I heard a very short interview with Brennan Johnson on TNT Sports, and he basically come out and said if you'd have asked us or told us before the game started that we'd have a 2-goal cushion, going over to Norway in the second leg, we would have taken it and been very happy. How important is that going to be for Spurs? And, you mentioned there about the players being out injured and suspended. It was very, very important that Spurs took that opportunity today and got the win, and a comfortable win.
Yeah, they did. I just don't know if it's comfortable enough. I hadn't heard that Brennan Johnson that comment up to now. That worries me because that makes it feel like he feels like they have a big enough lead going in. Like they kind of overperformed. I don't know if we overperformed. I think we played really, really well. I don't think it's a comfortable cushion at this point. We absolutely played. We played the way that we were supposed to here, but the way that we played, I feel like we should have a 3 or a 4 goal cushion rather than a 2 goal cushion. So yeah. I'm still confident going forward. I still think that you're right to buy those tickets to Bilbao. I haven't quite purchased the plane ticket, but I do have a hotel. I do have, not a hotel, right? Like I rented a little apartment in Bilbao too. It was just a little deflating. That it was such against the run of play. I feel like their goal was pretty lucky as well. You could feel the stadium deflate a little bit. And so I'm still a little bit worried about that. But overall, just really, really happy with how they came out. The intent was there. The aggression was there. For most of the game, everyone was really, really locked in. Even Basuma. Basuma, I think, had a poor first half. But in the second half, he really started to come alive. You saw the Romero who was locked in. You saw the Van de Ven who was locked in. Johnson running. Johnson looked exhausted at the end. I mean, that first half. I mean, not only did we have that positive intent, but at times we just looked electric. We haven't seen that in a while from this team.
Gareth, let's come to you. Let's get your thoughts on this evening's win.
Listening to the boys has been really, really good. I mean, there's a lot of positivity. There's also that nagging doubt of we've seen this before of like kind of, we've been in these positions before and we've lost these positions before. So, look, I think it's a really, really positive night. I think you were saying there, Chris, about Brennan Johnson's interview about being 2 goals up. If Bodø Glimt had went 1-0 up and we won the game 3-1, there would have been a very different atmosphere at the end of the game. Because we were 3-0 up and we've conceded a goal, it almost feels like we were there in Bilbao, but now we have got to work to do. So let's be honest, right? If we asked around the room tonight, will we have taken a 2-goal lead going to Bilbao? Of course we would have done. So I think there's negativity a little bit in fans because of the late goal. I mean, Bodø Glimt didn't offer much at all. Spurs were very comfortable and maybe a bit too comfortable in the second half. And I think Terry alluded to it, that the first half was probably a lot more positive than the second half. I think we're kind of thinking, let's not push forward for 4 and 5 in case we get caught. Then we can see the goal. But there's so much to be positive about. You're in a Europa League semi-final. You're 2 goals in front.
Yeah.
If we score 1 goal out there, I think it'll be enough. And they're for Europa League semi-final. I'm not sure that team has the quality. Bodø Glimt. They score 3 or 4 goals at home against Spurs. Without Spurs getting, it'll be interesting to see how Bodø approach it, because they're 2 goals down at home. You have to feel that they go at it from the front foot, and if they do, then there will be more opportunities, because they were quite defensive tonight. Yes, they had a lot of possession of the ball second half, but kind of felt that other than that, there's 1 chance before half time, just over the bar, right at, or not. I can't remember another attempt in the game. So I think Spurs definitely have their number, and it's about now making sure we don't concede. The first goal out in Bodø will be massive. If Bodø Glimt get it, they'll feel like it's game on, only 1 goal behind. Spurs get it, you can nearly feel it's game over. So interesting, but a lot of people, I know what Terry's saying there, but a lot of people are narrowing down to the fact that Bodø got that goal at the end. But if it had been that Bodø scored in the first minute and Spurs had come back and won 3-1, we'd all be doing somersaults and cartwheels in this podcast. So you have to take it that it's 3-1 lead, you're 2 goals in front. a Europa League semi-final, and we've got 1 foot in Bilbao, and I think 1 more goal in Bodø would probably be enough.
Yeah, it's a weird one, isn't it, Gareth? Where we've just won the first leg 3-1. Where, you know, for me, I feel like people should feel very happy with that performance and the way that we've played this evening. But I feel like a lot of people are like, well, we haven't done enough. Oh, you know, the second leg's going to be really difficult. Yeah, we know every single game, you know, especially when you're in a semi-final, it's not going to be easy, is it? Every game is difficult. But we went to Frankfurt with a 1-1 draw and we got the job done out there. So, you know, I feel like we need to be a little bit more positive and get behind the team, get behind the manager, get behind the football club. And, you know, as I said, that atmosphere tonight was incredible. And, you know, the 400 plus fans that will be travelling out to Norway next week, I'm sure the atmosphere in that away end will be electric again because, you know, we want this. We want to be going to Bilbao against either Athletic Bilbao or Manchester United. It's a huge game.
Well, Chris, if you're talking about atmosphere and display, we've absolutely put Arsenal to shame. The difference in the atmosphere, the difference in display was like night and day. And this is not me getting at Arsenal. This is just we've said so much about the club, so much about the ownership, but that display tonight was incredible.
Yeah,
absolutely incredible. And this comes from someone who, you know, unfortunately I couldn't be at the game because I have to save my holidays for Bilbao. I've already booked it. I was that confident we'd be there. It was just impossible to get the time off work. So watching that tonight,
this is the confidence. When I said to Gareth, you know, on a text message a week or so ago, I was like, "Oh, you going to the game? I'll see you there." And he's like, "No, I can't because I've booked the time off work to go to Bilbao." This is how confident a lot of Spurs fans are. It's true, Gareth, isn't it? We know so many people who have booked their flights to Bilbao.
Well, that's it, Chris. But there's also the feeling that you don't know how many times these opportunities come around. Like I booked to go to Bilbao for 5 days, so it's almost like a holiday as well. So I'm going out there for the whole experience from get there on the Monday and I won't be leaving there to the Friday. So just the whole sort of week of it, of kind of speaking to so many Spurs fans. Hopefully, Chris, if I'm hoping we're going to be there. I'm 70-30 now we're there, but it could change before then. But even a possibility of a Spanish Tottenham Hotspur Spurs chat podcast could be incredible. Imagine we sit down in a bar and do the podcast out there. It would be incredible. And it actually, see, to be honest now, Chris, it's even more exciting that Man United could be there because there'll be so many Irish Man United fans going out there as well. So you'll have the English Man United Spurs fans and the Irish Man United Spurs fans, and from everywhere. Obviously, I think it'll be an amazing atmosphere. You were obviously there in Madrid when Spurs play Liverpool, and I've spoke to Liverpool fans and Spurs fans that were there, and they says the atmosphere in Madrid was incredible. So I would imagine something very similar in Bilbao. So look, so much to look forward to, but we do have next week to get through. But honestly, more positives than negatives tonight. And I'm sure we're going to do team selection as well, but certain players that surprised me as well.
Gareth, of course, for the viewers, you are a UEFA licensed football coach, and I always love to ask you this question before we hear from Ange Postecoglou's in his press conference, by the way. So I'd just like to ask you about tactics today. What do you make of Ange's tactics in this particular game?
Chris, I don't want to be critical of Ange, but I do think the players are taking it upon themselves. They maybe do certain things that they maybe, not that they're not asked to do, but maybe that they're like Pedro Porro in the Europa League games against Frankfurt and tonight is taking less chances. He's not playing as many flicks. He's not taking as many chances. He's not taking as many touches. A few times tonight, Pedro Porro got the ball and just put it down the line to Brennan Johnson. Now, sometimes it was a pass, other times it was more like just a hopeful pass, but he's not taking as many touches on the ball. He's not coming inside as much. I definitely think Destiny Doggy is not taking as many touches. There's definitely a little bit of reservation in the players. As that coming from Ange, I don't know, but there's definitely a more resilient, kind of more, what's the word I'm looking for, self-preservation from the players. I don't think they're being as risky and as chancy as they would be in the Premier League. Now, judging by Ange and how he speaks, I just don't think he's the type of character that would change his tactics. So are the players taking it upon themselves to be a bit more responsible themselves? Are they taking less risks? Are they taking less chances? I think our 3 best performances of 2025, 4 now actually, have been AZ Alkmaar at home, Frankfurt home and away, and Bodø tonight at home. We're seeing things in the Premier League, not just in terms of there's definitely more application and more effort from the players, which me and you spoke about before, Chris, which is unacceptable because you fans are travelling home and away every week. You deserve that sort of application and attitude every week. But in terms of their actual in-game tactics, I do think there's a lot more less risk involved in terms of what they're doing with the ball. Like there was a stat tonight, I think, with about 20 minutes to go, Spurs had only 48% of the ball compared to Bodø having 52%. So, is that by design by Ange? I'm not so sure because he has always says we'll play this way and that way. So, are the players doing it themselves? What I would say is, Chris, and this is 100%, it's not fact, it's my opinion. There's definitely a lot more attitude and application in the Europa League. So, are the players doing things that they wouldn't normally do under the manager's tactics in the league? I don't know, but there's definitely a less. I felt a lot more safe tonight than I usually do in a league game. There was less playing out of the back. There was less risky passes across your own box or on the midfield. It was kind of more, let's get the ball into the second half of the pitch and then we'll play our football. So are the players doing that themselves? Only time will tell.
Well, I think as well, we've got absolutely nothing to play for in the Premier League and everything to play for in the Europa League because, you know, not only do you win a trophy, you get that place in the Champions League final. And it's absolutely mad. I know we'll talk about the West Ham game later on, but, you know, it could be the battle of 16th and 17th on Sunday against West Ham United. But, you know, it just seems crazy that Spurs could finish 17th in the Premier League table and be playing Champions League football next season. And if that was the case, you know, a huge transfer window again is required, whoever the manager is, whether it be Ange Postecoglou or someone else. But talking about Ange, Ricky, before we come to you, it's about 6 minutes. This is the post-match presser of Ange.
Evening, Ange. Where do you think that result leaves your team in terms of making the semi-final? Making the final, sorry, second leg of the semi-final.
Yeah, I think puts us in a good position. I thought the players were outstanding today. I thought our performance was everything it needed to be. Really well organised and disciplined defensively. Really calm going forward and creating good opportunities for ourselves and maintaining pressure. And yeah, obviously they scored the goal late, which doesn't, I think, reflect our dominance in the game. But you know, if we repeat that performance next week, and you know, it'll be enough for us to get through.
Saw Richarlison not return for the second half. Maddison, Solanke come off. You got an initial assessment of where those injuries are and if they might be available?
Richarlison wasn't injured. It was just a tactical thing. He did a great job for us in the first half, exactly what we needed him to do. But we thought the game would open up in the second half, and we got Matty on for that. Dom and Matters felt a tweak in his knee, but it doesn't sound like it's anything serious. And Dom similarly in his quad, but you know, both of them sort of didn't feel it was anything too significant, but thought it was wise just to take him off at that point.
Hi Andrew, it's Boris from Antenna 5. You must be pleased with the result and the fact that you've got a lead that you can protect or add to it in the second leg. Could you please comment on the crowd? It was so electric tonight. Everyone wants you to win this this title, this competition. It's a European title. You must be pleased with the way things are going on this front.
I thought that our supporters were outstanding tonight. You know, from the moment we walked out, and I think, you know, they added the energy to the team. I think, you know, even us scoring an early goal came from the fact that, you know, as soon as the boys walked out, there was a buzz in the stadium, and you know, it's credit to our fans. We've obviously had a tough season, but the European nights this year have still been pretty special, and you know, they played their part tonight. You know, a massive role in us, you know, performing in the way we needed to.
Right.
You lost Lucas Bergvall obviously on the eve of the match. We saw him in crutches and a protective boot. Do you think you've kind of lost him for the rest of the season?
It's too early to assess. Yeah, just it's just the way our season's gone. Unfortunately, it's just it's hugely disappointing for Lucas. He was obviously really excited. He had a big week. Obviously, re-signing with the club, and he's had such a great year for us. Just like I said, it's just the way our season's gone. Where training something innocuous like that ends up with him, hurting his ankle. We'll just assess it over the next few days. Let it settle down, and we'll find the extent of it.
Obviously, it gives an opportunity for someone else, Eve Basuma, to come in. What did you make of his performance tonight?
Yeah, I thought Biss and Rodri were outstanding. They're really key for us today. The beauty of Lucas is that he feels that sort of role really well from a defensive point of view. And the reason I put Biss in there today, I knew that we were going to need that from him. The way Bodø's set up and their ability to sort of try and gain momentum as they build up their play. I thought him and Rodri were going to be key for us stemming that, and that's how it proved. I thought Biss was brilliant. Look, he's had an up and down year like all of us, but I've still got full belief in him and full confidence that on a day like today he could do a really good job for us, and I thought he was outstanding.
Hi Ange, how did you see the penalty?
How did I see it? It was a good penalty. Scored.
The decision by VAR?
There was a decision, yeah. That's the referee's decision, yeah.
How are you seeing the next game on artificial grass?
Yeah, look, it's on artificial grass, but it's still a game of football, and I've been there, I've played there with Celtic, I know the experience. I think what's important for us is that we need to replicate what we did today. I think, excuse me, irrespective of the surface, if we're as disciplined and organised as we were today, with and without the ball, then it won't matter what the surface is. I think it'll make it really difficult for us, to be stopped.
And at 3-0, it felt like there were 2 or 3 really good chances to make it 4. I mean, it's disappointing for you that one goal for Bodø seems to give them a bit of belief.
I thought we were similarly dominant against Frankfurt, and we ended up with 1-1 there. So, it's just. But I think when you perform like we did tonight, and like we did against Frankfurt at home, it gives you that belief that you can go away and win there as well. So, I think that's the most important thing. We certainly, I don't think the scoreline reflects our dominance in the game today, but we have to accept that. Obviously, we're still in a really good position, and it's about now replicating what we did today on Thursday.
And just on from that, he talks about how calm your attack was. Supporters might get a bit edgy after the late goal, but has the performance tonight made you feel pretty calm going into that second leg?
It's not about feeling calm. I just, like I said, you get belief. I mean, it's, as I said, I get, Bodø away is a difficult fixture, but so was Frankfurt away, and we went there with knowing we had to win to get through, and I thought the lads handled it really well. I think in Europe this year we've been really good at sort of managing whatever situation we've been in, and we've had some games where AZ we lost away from home, but we had to come back and we showed real calm, composure to win and get through here. So I think all those experiences give me the belief that we can go there and get the job done.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Ricky, let's come to you. Let's get your thoughts and opinions on Andrew's comments there in the press conference.
Okay, all right. Remember the question, Chris. The drink is here. I need to just talk about something for a second. I'm just gonna go on a little bit of a mini rant for a second. I just want to talk about negativity in general. Okay. Like Gareth was talking about negativity, and we can look at the goal that we conceded, and it's actually ironic that we conceded a goal called saltiness, but it's saltiness really, isn't it? Right? Because it's all inflicting us with a little bit of salt, it has, all of us, right? The thing is with negativity in general, in life, it is a really addictive parasite. Once it infects, it spreads, right? And it continues to spread, and you continue to feed it. Once you're in it, you continue to feed it. And even in a positive, you can sit there and look and find a negative and sit on that rather than the positive in general. And in life, if you do that, then every single time that you get slapped in the face, you will end up banging your head against the wall. You can't do that. Tonight was such a, I think generally tonight was such a positive result, and I'll take it back into football. But tonight was such a positive result that one goal conceded is just the way that we do it. You know, we do it the hard way. It's just to make us tentative. It's just to make us a little bit nervous. In fact, it might even help concentrate those boys next week to go, you know what? We conceded one. We need to go out there and make sure that we wrap this up, because they're on the verge of it. You know, next week they're going to be on the verge of it. This is it. You know, all of those players that we got right there, if you don't believe that they want to win and achieve and pick something up just because of whatever, because Ange is the manager or Levy's the chairman, or, you know, we didn't spend 100 million on a player, or, you know, we've lost 107 in the league this year, then you're crazy, man. These guys are on the verge of something. We go in with the 3-1 advantage.
Ricky, see if they had scored first and we won the game 3-1, there will be a different feeling among Spurs fans.
I didn't hear none of that. This ear's drunk. This ear was hearing you. So you got to just speak slower for me, Gareth. Say it again. One minute. I've got to get my listening ear ready. Go on, Sunshine.
See if Bodø had scored in the first minute like we did.
Yeah.
When we come back and won the game 3-1, everyone would be feeling different than they are now.
Absolutely, bro. But this is what I'm saying about perspective, and you know, and when you look at something, and if you're looking at something and you're looking for the negative, because the whole season you know you've fed this beast, you know, for one reason or another, and the majority of the time it's just for being right. You know, it's just for being right. Like we can't do that. And
Ricky,
listen, what's his name? Can you pronounce it for me?
There's a comment here saying "Happy Clapper Ricky," but I'll tell you what, I quite often get called that as well. There is nothing wrong. There is nothing wrong in celebrating a win and being happy that your football club have won a game. I just don't get the negativity of like we win 3-1, and then a lot of people are going, "Oh, is it enough? Is it? Oh, it's not going to be enough. Oh, we're going to lose the second leg. Oh, we're going to go out. We're not going to be in the final. Oh, come on! You know,
why would we bring that to ourselves?
Exactly. We don't need to bring it to this podcast.
Come on. So, okay, I'll be positive, and yes, you can call me a happy clapper, no problem. Because you know what, win, lose or draw, I love my team and I support my team. Win, lose or draw, I will look at those players that wear the shirt with the cockerel on it, and I'll go, you know what? If you're standing and you're fighting and you're trying and you're doing and you won, but we're Tottenham. I got you. I got you for as long as you stand for us. I'll stand for you. Do you know what I mean? I'm one of those supporters. And some can call that happy clapper. Some can call that delusional. I don't care. I always, no matter what our form, I always at the end of this podcast say that my team is going to win, because I can't contemplate us lose. I can't let the words come out of my mouth that next week we're going to lose, even if it makes sense. Do you know what I mean? That's the way I am, you know. So that's all right. But, you know, at the same time as I have respect, and I don't expect this of you, people around the world, but the same way I have respect of the way that you see things and the way that you've brought certain things to the table about Ange or about the way that we're playing or results. I'll hear him. I'll respect him. Sometimes I won't agree with him, but I'll hear it and respect it, and I'll let it sit and contemplate it and figure it out for myself and respect your opinion, because you love and breathe this club. I love and breathe this club, and I've had no choice from birth, and I'm happy that I've had no choice. Even through all the pain, I'm still happy that I've had no choice, because you see these moments like tonight, and we haven't done it. But you see these moments like tonight, these nights are more special to me than 100 leagues back to back. And I'm not saying I don't want 100 leagues, but do you know what I mean? I'm not saying I don't want 100 leagues, G. I'm not saying it, bro. Of course I do. But do you know what I mean? Like, you know, when it's like Newcastle got the Carabao Cup this year, and how special was that for them?
Yeah.
West Ham got the Conference League, and how special was that for them? It doesn't matter. This is special for us. So, yeah. So that's my thing about negativity and positivity. I'm not just gonna. I don't want to spread that cloud. I don't want to spread that poison. I don't want to encourage it. I want to at least give us balance so that when you're at home and you're thinking about this team, you're not going to think about the one goal that we conceded. You're going to think about the 3 beautiful damn goals that we scored with all the pressure on our shoulders at our own house with our own fans needing this to happen. Do you know what I mean? Like, they went out there and done that.
Yeah.
You know? So I'm going to think about that. Rather
Ricky,
than the one that we conceded. Sorry, bruv. I needed to just lay it out.
No, that's fine. One thing we have never ever done, and certainly, me as the host of this podcast, I've never ever told people how they should feel, and rightly so. People shouldn't tell me how to feel. I feel very proud of the football club this evening. I feel very proud of these players, and yes, it's going to be a difficult tie in the second leg, but as I said, it's not going to be easy. You're playing in the semi-final. A chance to play in the final, and then a chance to play for a Champions League spot. It's not going to be easy.
You've got to earn it.
But I feel proud of the team tonight. Yeah,
absolutely, bruv.
Terry, very quickly, let's go back to the question. Your opinions on Ange's comments in the press conference there, particularly on Lucas Bergvall, because if he is out for the season, that is a big loss to the side, certainly in these remaining games in the Europa League and the Premier League, because he has been one of the shining lights. And also said there, the scoreline doesn't reflect our dominance in the game. And I felt like that's exactly what he said in the first leg of the Frankfurt game as well. And of course, we went to Germany and got that job done. He also spoke there a little bit about Basuma and Rodrigo Bentancur, saying about they were outstanding. And he also spoke a little bit about the artificial grass next week in Norway.
Yeah, I agree with everything that he said. Just so I'll get to more detail, but first, I just want to say what I love about Ricky is his ability to find silver linings in things. Yeah. I do agree with him on this, on that late conceded goal. We could look at this like if we were up 3-0, we might go in overconfident and complacent into next week. So maybe this goal is just a blessing in disguise that keeps enough of an edge where we still go in with the same rigor that we did today. I mean, I completely agree with what Ange said in terms of it. The score did not reflect the dominance. He said if we play like we did today, like we'll go through next week, and that's absolutely the case. And maybe that late goal will force us to play like we did today. So I'm hoping that's the case. I thought that question from the Norwegian journalist was a little interesting. I loved Ange's kind of non-answer to that, but he seemed to quite kind of prod and say, "Hey, do you think that was really a penalty or not?" I maybe I'm biased. I think it was no question a penalty. I think it was almost as clear of a penalty as the one on Matters in Frankfurt. But it was I loved his reaction to it. He didn't even answer the question. He just said, "Oh, I thought Solanke took the penalty really well." So it's Bergvall. Bergvall is worrying. I mean, Bergvall. It's crazy to say this, but Bergvall has a case for Player of the Year for us. Not even just Young Player of the Year. He could make a case between him and Kulusevski for Player of the Year. So I think that's a big miss. I was really worried about Basuma in that spot. I think Bentancur, like he said, was super solid throughout the entire game. I think it was really unlucky to have the deflection come off of him for that goal. Basuma, I was really worried. I thought he looked. There's some sloppy passes in that first half again, but that he really stepped up in that second half. I thought he had a really solid second half. I don't think he's at Bergvall's level, which is crazy to say. I still don't know where Brighton Basuma is. But the way that Ange talked about it sure sounds like he's out for the season, right? So I think we're just gonna have to make do. I kind of question where Sarr was. I was surprised. I had in my notes that I thought that because I thought Basuma had a poor first half, so I thought Sarr should come in at halftime for Basuma. I was a bit surprised to see that he didn't come in, and also a bit surprised that he didn't make an appearance the entire game. But I agree with everything that Ange says. And I do give Ange a lot of credit, not just for the starting lineup, which I was surprised with, which I don't think I would have made the same choices as he did in a couple of positions. And I'm going to slightly disagree with Gareth here, and I'm going to give Ange credit for the tactics. I think they meant to be a lot more direct. I think they meant to have those crosses and those over the top balls in. So I'm going to give him credit for that. Too often, and Chris, you say this, too often he gets stick thrown at him whenever something negative happens, and too often he doesn't get the credit when something good happens. Today was a good day. Today was a good day for Spurs. Today was a good day for Ange. He should get credit for that.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, Terry. I've said that quite often. When things go right for us, people need credit. I feel like a lot of people just forget about issuing that credit when things do go right. It's the negatives that are quite often pinned on people. What I thought was really nice this evening as well is Captain Heung-min Son was inside the stadium, and I know some people, when I posted out on X during the evening that Sonny was in the stadium, some people said, well, of course he should be there. He's captain, but he hasn't actually been there the last couple of home games. So it's great to see him back, and with a big smile on his face that Tottenham have won this evening. Terry, you mentioned there about the team selection. What did you make of the team selection when this came out? Vicario in goal, the back four of Porro, Romero, Van der Ven, Udogie, and then Basuma, Bentancur, Maddison, Johnson, Solanke, and Richarlison. I've got to admit, everyone I spoke to before the game, the amount of people who said, have you seen the team selection? Are you surprised? I felt like everyone was surprised. And weirdly, I did a Sky Sports interview earlier today, and I was asked the question, what do you think the team lineup will be? And my answer was very much sitting on the fence. And I said, you cannot predict Ange Postecoglou's starting 11. I don't think I've once got Ange's starting 11 right since he's been at the football club, because 29 midfield combinations last year, and I don't think anyone would have predicted that Basuma would have started this game this evening. The sub bench today: Austin, Danso, Davis, Spence, Gray, Kulusevski, Moore, Odegaard, Sarr, Tell, Whiteman. Terry, let's come to you. Were you surprised by the starting 11? Did he get it right this evening?
I was surprised, and I think he got it right. I think we were all surprised that Kulusevski wasn't in the starting lineup. Right? I was shocked to see that, and then to see Basuma instead of Kulusevski, even more shocked. I think a lot of us thought that Tell would be in the starting lineup instead of Richarlison.
Yeah.
So those two were really the only surprises. I mean, I think there's a general consensus amongst the other 9 that was probably what he was going to go with. I agree with you that he's completely unpredictable with his starting lineup. I don't think I've ever gotten the starting lineup right either. But I think he got it right, especially with Richarlison. I was surprised how bright he looked.
Yeah.
I mean, he started right off the bat. He had a beautiful left-footed cross into Johnson. If Johnson was a bit better in the air, we would have had a goal in 15 seconds. But that led to that Porro cross, which led to Richarlison's header, that led to the first goal. Again, I'm somewhat surprised that he came off at halftime. It sounds like it was just a tactical move. I can't imagine that Richarlison was happy with that decision at halftime. But I thought he was really bright throughout, surprisingly so. I thought Tell should go in, but if I think about just his first half impact, I probably would give him like a rating of 8 at least. I thought he was that good. Basuma, I had mentioned before, I thought he had a poor first half, but then he really grew into the game, and I thought he had a couple of really good interventions in that second half, and seemed to be a lot more confident on the ball, both dribbling and with his passing. So again, this is another place where we should absolutely give Ange the credit. I don't think a lot of people would have agreed with the starting lineup, but he got it right. He absolutely got it right.
Gareth, let's come to you on the starting 11. What did you make of it? Were you surprised?
Very surprised. I couldn't really see Basuma playing. Obviously Bergvall was injured, but I couldn't really see Basuma being the player to come on to replace him. And I was very surprised that Richarlison was the player on the left. Terry is right. Richarlison had a massive impact in the first half, looked bright. And the one thing I would say about Richarlison over Tell, you can't always feel that Richarlison's got a goal in him or a moment in him. I haven't really seen that with Tell. I know he's young, but if the season finished tomorrow, I wouldn't be activating that clause for Tell. I just haven't seen enough. I think he threatens to show how good he can be, but I'm just not seeing that real top player. I think for £50 million, you can get somebody at a better level. But look, that's a conversation for the summer. Basuma, agree with Terry again. Thought he was a slow start, but for second half, he was arguably one of the best players on the pitch. And that's the kind of Basuma you want to see. But problem with Basuma is you play him over 10 games, you get one or two good games and 8 poor games. And that's always been his problem. If you got that Basuma that started the season last year, and the Basuma you've seen tonight, there wouldn't be an argument to be in the team. But it's just too inconsistent. Is that due to wee stuff in his personal life or his application, his attitude, his mentality? I'm not sure, but he's got the quality. There's no doubting it. On his day, he's a very, very good player. Thought Bentancur tonight was good. Bentancur's another player who I think's inconsistent at times, but more reliable, I think, than Basuma. So the rest of the team kind of picked itself without Van de Ven again. Or the Newcastle game last year at St James's Park. Can't remember a poor game he's ever had. Or than the 4-0 defeat last year there, where he had a bit of a nightmare, where I think he slept a couple of times. But or not, he's been very, very consistent. And when Van de Ven plays, I think you see a better Spurs, a better team at the back, defensively and playing out. And I also think you see a better version of Romero. I think Romero relaxes when he sees Van de Ven because we know Romero can make mistakes, but he knows when Van de Ven's there, if there's a mistake made, Van de Ven can bail you out. So I just think it gives a confidence to the fans, to the players, to the staff, everyone involved. And Van de Ven's playing, we always feel that we have a great opportunity. So no, the team that bar those two, it was the only two. But look, Terry is right in a way too. Richarlison for Tell, like I wasn't crying about it, like I wasn't like upset about it. The only thing I was raising about was Bergvall not being in the team, but he was injured. So, it was either Basuma or Kulusevski. Maybe Kulusevski's not fit to start a 90-minute game. Maybe Anne's seen something that maybe he just isn't ready yet. And maybe now over the next couple of weeks we need to get players like Kulusevski and Van de Ven more game time. I know there's a risk of injury, but we need to make sure these players are ready for, who knows, if we've managed in the final, could go extra time. We need players that are match fit and ready as well. So there's always that trade-off between risking players for injury, but also making sure they're match fit. So that's something that Ange and the players will have to, and the staff will have to contemplate over the next few weeks of making sure we don't go into the final cold. Because understand if we go to West Ham on Sunday and make a lot of changes, but you still got a few more games before that final. But you have to make sure you go into that final ready and prepared should we get there. I know I've agreed with Terry a lot in this this kind of sequence of the podcast, but I will disagree with him on the fact what he says earlier about the tactics of the team. The one thing I would say back to Terry is we played that kind of way against Frankfurt. Why did we not see that against Wolves or Liverpool? And we had to wait tonight to see it. I do think that the players are taking on that more responsibility. We're not going to take as many chances as Ange wants. We're not going to play this really open style. I just can't see a manager saying to a team on a Thursday, play this way, and then on a Sunday, let's go back to the way we normally play. I just think the players are taking less risks and playing a more conservative style of play.
It's a very different Tottenham, isn't it, Gareth? Premier League games to Europa League games, a very, very different Tottenham, a different energy, a different performance, a different everything. Even, you could argue even the crowd were very different this evening. And, let's talk about the opening goal because...
Well, Chris. I'm calling you Craig now. Craig's not here tonight, but I've seen Craig on the top left that much recently. Chris, all those things are kind of self-explanatory, right? The fans are going to always be up for a European semi-final over a game against a team in the league when we're 15th or 16th. Player-wise, they're playing for an opportunity to be in a final, the European final. So they're going to give more effort and more application.
Yeah.
But just on the tactical side, I do think there is more. We've been more conservative, and I just don't think that is coming from Ange. I just can't see Ange doing that on a Thursday and then going back to what Ange wants to do on a Sunday. I just don't think. I do think the players are playing with this kind of more. Oh, this is a big game. We can't take these many risks, and I do think a lot of it is coming from the players.
But we've seen it before a couple of times, Gal. Do you know what I mean? Like, we've seen it against Man City this season. We've seen it against Liverpool Carabao Cup, where we switched tactics. We've dropped a little deeper. We haven't inverted too much with the wing backs and stuff like that. So you have seen an
we went to Liverpool on Sunday, Ricky. Went to Liverpool on Sunday.
Sorry, you got to remember my ear's drunk, bruv. You got to remember that. Come on, wait.
But we went to Liverpool on Sunday, and we were playing balls across our own box.
No, I know. I hear you. I'm not saying you don't have a point, because you have a great point in that kind of how can we play one way on a Thursday and then a different way on a Sunday, and then we start to look at the philosophy.
Hold on, Ricky. I have noticed. I know you're down for the podcast on Sunday for the West Ham one, but I've even noticed that you've started knocking off the Premier League games. You only want to come on the podcast during the European games.
Yeah, and I'll tell you why. It's because I don't.
I've done the same, because Craig will probably be hosting the Premier League games in future.
Right, but
sorry,
you know
Craig.
what? But you know what? If I'm honest, right, and it was really lovely what Terry said earlier. Okay, but if I'm honest, I kind of felt that personally, what I had to say, or what my reflections, or what I see when it comes down to the team, nobody needed to hear during that time. I think it was a time for the fans to vent, and I think it's time for those that was on the pod to vent and to let out all of the things that are frustrating and in that losing streak, which is creditable. I'm not denying that. I'm not saying that it was a false claim, but I just couldn't be in and around that, because when I try and pull out one positive, it's going to be shot down, or it didn't want to be heard. Do you know
Ricky,
what I mean? So
it was only a joke.
Back. I know. I'm sorry. I've been drinking. You know this.
And by the way, someone said that you're listening with the wrong ear, because you were listening with the other ear last time.
I had 2 more sips. It switches. Can you get off my case? Honestly.
Gareth, let me come back to you. Let's talk about the first goal, because what a start it was. We talk a lot about opportunities, taking opportunities. Richarlison crossing for Brennan Johnson, 1-0, in the very first minute. It was a fantastic start, wasn't it?
Unbelievable, and the volume was absolutely pumping in the pub I was in watching the game, and the atmosphere just sounded so good. I was like so jealous I wasn't there, but it gave the place was pumping beforehand, and they score after 38 seconds. The place just went electric, and I can't expect us to go on and score another quick goal, but I suppose it was a great start regardless. A great goal, to be fair. Richarlison's header to the back post was excellent, and that kind of direct play was on all night. We seen the direct ball forward, and Richarlison headed it on for Johnson. There was another chance in the first half. Romero played a ball over the top. Madison threw over the bar, and then of course the second goal was Porro's ball over the top to Madison. And the one thing I did notice about Bodø Glimt is they looked a bit pissless at the back. Didn't really look like they've much legs about them at the back. And I think that's a real avenue for us in the second leg, because of course it's going to be difficult out there, but they are 2-0 down. They're going to have to come out and attack us. Maybe at the start they might be a wee bit more conservative, but at some stage, if it's 0-0 after 25-30 minutes, they really have to push on. And we've got players on the break that can really punish you. So look, sometimes they let you down, but I think the likes of Johnson, Tell, Odebear, Son if he's back, they all have pace and power, and they can get him behind and cause problems. So look, Bodø Glimt will have them problems that they have to, it's different. I know they beat Lazio in the first game 2-0. They can go and sit back in the second leg, and they got the penalties and won the tie. But Bodø Glimt have to be a lot more positive in the second leg, and they really have to come up. They make sure that they still have a chance in the tie. So I think that's a real avenue for us over the top. They looked really, really light at the back in terms of pace, because I don't think Solanke's the fastest in the world. He's not slow, but he's kind of just general pace. There's a few times in the first half where Solanke was running past some of their centre halves. So I think that's a real avenue to go for in the second leg.
Terry, let me come to you. How do you feel that these performances are so different in the Europa League to the Premier League?
I agree with Gareth there while not on the tactics, I do think the players are just much more up for these games, and they just don't care about the Premier League games, and a lot of us just don't care about the Premier League games anymore. So I feel like we see what their capacity is and what their capabilities are when they're fully locked in. They're concentrating for 90 minutes. They're really trying. One thing that you just said, Gareth, that I think is spot on. That not just the speed, but just the overall physicality. I think we've always heard about, like with Louis Burfall, we would always say it would take a while for him to adjust from the speed and the power of the Swedish league into the Premier League. Now, I mean, I don't want to stereotype all Nordic leagues, but I think we are seeing a bit of that with the difference between Tottenham and Bodø. I think we were not only just more physical, I think we're faster. They seem to have trouble adjusting to that, which I was a bit surprised, because I feel like Lazio can be pretty physical as well, but they really seem to have problems. It's like I said in the first half, that those balls over the top were really, really causing havoc. Just like Solanke isn't the fastest guy for that second goal, Madison isn't the fastest guy either, and he blew past that center defender for that over the top ball for that second goal there. I agree. I think they should take advantage of that aggressiveness, that physicality and speed, and if we can bring that next week, then we're going to pull out there.
Terry, it's a different game though, isn't it? Because when they played Lazio at home in the first leg, it was 0-0. They're 2-0 down now, so they have to be a bit more adventurous.
Yeah, which I think is an advantage, right?
Yeah, big time.
Yeah.
Ricky, let's come back to you. What did you make of Tottenham's start? Because I tell you what, I feel like the crowd need to be given full credit, because that place was buzzing. It was electric. It was absolutely rocking. The crowd didn't stop singing. Everyone wore white in the south stand. It looked absolutely amazing. And what a start from Spurs, because how often have we recorded these podcasts where we've been talking about early goals that we've conceded, not scored?
Mate, it was the reward for all of the madness that we've dealt with for so long. I think the crowd played such a major part. The noise, the atmosphere, the energy, more than anything. I think it was undeniable for those players. And you got to remember that energy is undeniable. When it is rocking like that, Chris, and you was there, you felt it. Like, if you felt the hair, if you're out there listening right now, like, and you hear what I'm saying, let me know. If I'm chatting rubbish, let me know. But if you didn't feel the hair on the back of your neck kind of go up and the tingle go down your spine, and you feel that kind of butterflies in the stomach moment, then you must have been the flag itself that was being flown. Because you couldn't have been human in that.
Whiskey started the bubble.
Say it again, brother.
Ricky's whiskey started the bubble with the atmosphere.
I can't. It's something about the atmosphere. Can somebody translate? I didn't hear what he said. He said sign language. Do it? No, I'm rubbish. I don't do sign.
This is an international podcast, and Ricky wants.
Do we need an English translator?
I'm good with Gareth when I'm just on water, but like tonight I've had a couple because so it's.
No, we were just saying that your whiskey was talking to you during the first half.
Exactly right. I still don't know what he said. All right, cool. So what I'm saying is that the atmosphere was amazing, all right? And I think it pushed those boys on, and I think it was undeniable that they had to go out there and do something. And I think it was just reward that we scored in that first minute. And of course, Brennan Johnson done it against this side. We got to look at these moments, man. We got to celebrate these moments, and you know, instead of always looking at what Brennan especially does wrong, like he done that right in the first minute, and he set the tempo. That set the tempo. That exploded the fireworks inside the stadium, and it encouraged us. Look at that first half. Look at that Bentancur shot. That Bentancur shot. Oh my gosh, like, are you kidding me? Everybody was up for it. Like, that first half was amazing, but it was that first goal in the first minute that sparked the fire and set it going, man.
What it also did, Ricky, immediately, you know, the crowd was so loud, as I've mentioned a number of times already, but it shut the away end up immediately. Yes, Bodø Glimt's you know, away end was loud throughout the game, but you know, in the first minute, it quietened them, you know, because I just didn't expect that so early on.
And when that happens next week, it's going to quiet them again, Chris.
Hopefully, yes. Terry, let's come back to you. After 6 minutes, a ball over the top, Maddison on the end of it, which went over the bar. After 9 minutes, a good Spurs move. And I wrote that down quite a lot this evening, a good Spurs move.
You too.
Which the cross was then blocked. On 10 minutes, Van der Ven had a header over the bar. On 28 minutes, Bodø Glimt had a penalty shout, but it was more the fans calling for a penalty, not the players. On 30 minutes, Dominic Solanke laid it off to Udogi, who hit it over the bar. And then on 32 minutes, Richarlison on the edge of the box, he went for a shot, which was a tame shot of the goalkeeper. There were a couple of players in better positions. What have you made of Richarlison in a Spurs shirt overall in his career? Because I quite often say, you know, I like Richarlison, but we haven't seen the version that was at Everton. Yes, he had a good spell last season, you know, scored a fair few goals, but then he's had, you know, lots of injury problems. Given an opportunity today, I felt like he was very lively today. I suppose Ange Postecoglou is trying to use his squad as well, trying to use every player, because if we are going to go to the final of the Europa League, you know, you're going to need everyone fit and available. And of course, we still need players to be able to, you know, put in good shifts in the Premier League. What did you make of that particular incident from Richarlison? Should he have passed?
I think that was his only wrong decision of the half. Yeah, he should have passed. He had been passing up to that point. I think it feels like he just wanted a shot there. Yeah, he didn't quite turn his body enough because he wanted to kick it with his right, and it came off really tame. In terms of his tenure with us, it's just a case of, well, what could have been, right? I mean, it's been so sporadic with those injuries, and I feel like when he's been there, like, you could see what he offers us. I think his hold-up play is generally good. I think he's really, really good in the air. I think he should get more credit for his heading ability. That on that first goal, while the cross from Porro was beautiful, it was a little bit behind him. And we've seen that a couple times with Richarlison, where he's really good at adjusting his body and kind of getting his neck back on those really tough ones that are a little bit behind him, and getting that into a good place. So I can't see him having a future at Spurs. I actually see him probably going back to Everton, and I could see him thriving. You know, I think he's been really, really, really unlucky with those goals, but just his character, you can see how much he cares. They show that clip of Solanke's penalty against Frankfurt, and they show Richarlison's reaction on the sidelines there, and just how into it he is. And he wasn't in the game at all. I love how fully poised he is. You can't say that about some of the other players on the team. So he's one who I wish the best, and I wish the best could have happened for him at Spurs, but it just doesn't seem to be in the cards for him. And that's a shame. I don't know what it is. There's some kind of voodoo on him with him in Spurs. I was actually worried that at halftime, I was glad to hear that and said it wasn't an injury, because I thought it was I thought it was just another injury, because like why would you bring off someone who is that bright in the first half? Yeah.
Terry, another excellent performance this evening. James Maddison, who of course scored Tottenham's second goal after 34 minutes. James Maddison has been in and out of Ange's starting 11 throughout this season. What have you made of him this season? What do you make of him this evening? What do you make of the finish?
Yeah, I mean, him this season and him tonight, I mean, I think many have said that when he plays well, we play well, right?
Yeah.
And he was so on it today. I'm looking through my notes here, and even before the goal, I had Maddison looks really good on defense today. Like he was being aggressive, he was getting the ball back. You don't normally see him bullying other players. I thought he was doing that today. And then that goal, I mean, first of all, just a world-class ball over the top from Pedro Porro. The vision and then the run from Matter is just the perfectly timed. And then the touch with his right foot to bring that ball down. I can't imagine how difficult something like that is for a ball that's coming in that fast from that far to bring it down and then get the finish there. It just I'm so happy for him. You could see how much it meant to him. Just really happy for him. I'm worried. I'm worried. He when he went down, he immediately called the physios over, and then he was immediately substituted. I think we're going to need him. The way that he's playing right now, we're going to need him in a week, and we're going to need him in Bilbao if we get to that point. So I'm a little worried there, but it's this Maddison, the Maddison that we've seen today. Like, we haven't seen it most of the season. We've probably seen it like 20% of the season. But with a Maddison like this, you can see kind of what we can be. I mean, it wasn't just that goal either. There were a couple of plays where that lock picker Maddison came out, the one that we saw in the 10 games at the beginning of last season. That's what we want to see. That really changes kind of the attacking mindset and the impetus of this team.
Gareth, let's come to you on James Maddison. Give us your opinion on our second goal after 34 minutes and Maddison's finish. And also, I wanted to ask you your opinions on his comments in the pre-match press conference about talking about the fans, talking about wanting to win this trophy. He answered some very difficult questions. How did you think that he answered the media on Wednesday?
I'll start with this performance tonight. Look, really, really good. Maddison divides opinion amongst fans, I think, very similar to Brennan Johnson in terms of how fans feel about him. On his day, unplayable, potentially world class. On his day, we've seen the Man City away performance where on his day he's as good as anyone. I think the problem with Maddison is there's too many off days, too many days he's not at his best, too many days that he downs tools, doesn't really show the same application and attitudes. And I keep mentioning them two words, but that's been what's lacking a lot this season from a lot of players, is that we know at our best what we can do. We've won away at Old Trafford 3-0, we've won away at Man City 4-0. We've beaten Man City and Man United and Liverpool in the Carabao Cup all at home. So we know this team isn't the team that should be down near 16th, but there is a real mentality block. There's a real lack of consistency. And I think a lot of the times when the going gets tough, players shy away, and Maddison's one of them. And I think that was the issue at Leicester. I think if Maddison was consistent, he wouldn't even be at Spurs. I think he beat a Man City, a Liverpool. He's that good on his day. And look, I agree with Terry that if we're going to win this competition, then he'll probably need to be part of it, because I do think when Maddison plays at his best, you see a much better version of Spurs. Similar to when Eriksen was here. I think we haven't had a player like that for a while. I think when Eriksen was at his best, Spurs were at their best. But there is something with Maddison that at times it makes you question where his loyalties are. Tonight he was fantastic. There's no doubt in that. But if we were to concede an early goal next week, it wouldn't surprise me if Maddison was hauled off at half-time. He wasn't given 100%. So it's just, I think it's been a story of Maddison's career from the times when Leicester were flying and doing well, FA Cup one. They must have been in the top 4 a couple of times when Brendan Rodgers was there, and then they got relegated. And Maddison was part of that team that got relegated. So there's just something about Maddison that when we signed him, we were all very excited, thinking, "What a player! What a player!" A Leicester fan he's actually from Ireland. He lives a few doors away from me. Big Leicester fan. He says to me, "Maddison, when he's fit and firing, he says you're going to get an unbelievable player." This is the first setback he's get. Maddison will go missing, and that's been the case. So there is history with Maddison there. I think the biggest thing for Maddison now, personally, not even particularly the Spurs issue, and his connection to Spurs. He's 26, 27. He's entering his peak years. It's massive for him now over the next year that he finds that consistency. He stays fit, which, to be fair, a couple of injuries this year, but not as bad as last year. And if you can get that real consistent Maddison, I think any club would want him. But I just think he needs to apply himself in a much better way. I mean, the comments that he made during the week, your second part of the question, I honestly, I think Maddison's born for TV. I think Carragher, Gary Neville, players like that, I think Maddison's a Monday Night Footballer when he retires. I think he's a great pundit in the making. He's very good with the media. He enjoys that side of the media. I mean, if there's an interview tomorrow, he put his hand up, Chris. It wouldn't surprise me if you get him on the podcast. I think he just enjoys chatting about football, enjoys chatting a lot. So not in a bad way, but I think the Maddison you see on camera is probably not the Maddison you see on the pitch at times or off the pitch. And his defence, you wouldn't have seen this at the game tonight, but the TNT Sports cameras shined on the Spurs huddle before kickoff. Romero was captain tonight, I think. So he obviously said a few things. And Maddison also went back into the huddle and he gave the players another rally and clapped his hands and like a bit more energetic than he would normally be. And again, it goes back to the point that we says, Chris, and fair play to him. It's a big night, and he's probably telling the players it's a big night. But why should that be any different to Liverpool on Sunday past, Wolves a few Sundays ago, Forest on Monday night? And you just can't pick and choose your games of when you only turn up, and that's a problem that Spurs have had all season. Is that on certain days they've been very, very good, but too many times they've not turned up. And Chris, I know you're going to the game on Sunday against West Ham. It's not acceptable for Spurs to go there and lie down and just say, "Oh, we've got a big game now on Thursday." We have to go to West Ham on Sunday and perform. And if we lose the game, we lose the game. But we can't just go there with this attitude of we've got Bodø Glimt on Thursday. Just forget about this game. We just, because if that's the case, Chris, why not just send them a request to the Premier League that we're going to forfeit the game? It's not fair on fans going to games every week, paying money, paying flights, paying travel, paying trains, paying buses, whatever, how they're getting there, paying for their hospitality. Just they say, "Oh, we've got a big game on Thursday." It's not acceptable, that kind of behaviour. And I don't mind losing games, but in the Premier League a lot recently, Forest game, I think we applied ourselves. Wolves away, Liverpool away. Recently, there's been a real lack of effort, and the most loyal fans in the country are your away fans. They deserve to go there and get at least a performance. Some days you'll go and perform well, not win, but there's a real problem in the group in terms of mentality. And next Thursday will be great if we get through. But for me, West Ham on Sundays is an opportunity to build momentum because we haven't had a good record away at West Ham recently. If we can go to West Ham and get a result, it will only improve confidence for Sunday or for Thursday.
Ricky, let's come to you. On 38 minutes, and you mentioned this instant already, Bentancur almost made it 3-0. What a fantastic shot. Good save from the goalkeeper. Bodø then had a chance at the end of the first half, but he shot over the bar. Half-time, he went in 2-0. And then Ange Postecoglou made the first sub of the game, Tell coming on, Richarlison coming off. Can I just ask you about both of those players? Richarlison, would you expect him to be a Spurs player next season? And Tell, Would you sign him if you had the choice? I know James Maddison was asked this question. £45 million. If it was your choice, would you pay £45 million for him? I'm going to ask you that same question.
I think Richie. I think Terry spoke about Richie in a great way, but for me, I don't think it makes sense in the sense of that injury record. I think has wrecked him, and I think that tonight is an example that when he's up for it and when he's fit, he's fantastic, but we can't risk a second half with him. So let's take him off. Let's wrap him up. And I think they're keeping him kind of. They're trying to wrap him up in cotton wool and try and keep him as active and effective as possible. He had a 90 minutes against. Did he have 90 minutes against? Was it Liverpool? I can't remember. But anyway. I think they're managing his minutes. I think they're trying to keep him fit for these games, and the fact that he could play on the left tonight, and we had an extra attacking threat. And like Terry said, he was bright. He set up the first goal. With that cushion header, and he was bright on that left hand side, and we know that he can do that for Everton. It would have been. I would have loved to have seen a fully fit Richarlison for a whole season. There's a lot that goes against him. He hasn't scored 13 goals in a league season ever, in the league, and his injury record has been very difficult for him throughout his tenure. I think he had maybe like 2 seasons at Everton where he was pretty much fit, but we haven't seen that, and we've seen how brilliant Richarlison can be. We saw it at the World Cup. We've seen it for us in very sparse moments. I just would have wished to have seen it more, and so my thoughts are we're going to keep him fit for games like tonight, the Europa League and the important ones, and hopefully, I say hopefully, when we lift the trophy and we do the damn thing, then there might be an extra 5 or 10 mil on his price tag when we sell him in the summer. That's my thoughts with him. What was the second part of your question again?
Tell.
I like Tell. When he first turned up, he was thrown into games left, right, and centre, and he was playing 90 minutes because we needed him to play 90 minutes. But he hadn't played very much at all for Bayern Munich during that time, so there was going to take an adaptation period. He is still young. He was thrown in the deep end a little bit. I think when we played him on the left against Dortmund. Who did we play last week?
Frankfurt.
Who was it? Frankfurt. I had Leverkusen in my head. When we played him on the left against Frankfurt, I think he put in a lot of good crosses. I think he's finding his feet. I think we haven't seen at all what he can bring to the Premier League or what he can bring to Tottenham as yet. But I've got my fingers crossed and my toes crossed that we're going to see that, especially in the Europa League where it matters. And he can justify his price tag, and he can justify wanting to be at Spurs. You've got to remember as well with Tell is that he's done things that he didn't have to. When the crowd were going crazy after a loss, he went up and he spoke to him. And you can testify to this, Chris. When players have gone off the field and they've left because of a loss, Tell's one of the ones that stays and claps the fans. And
yeah,
I remember there was a video. I can't remember who it was against, but
Fulham.
I remember there was a. Go on.
Fulham. Where he was like, look, I understand, but we need you. Like, I need you, and that tells me something about the man, because he didn't have to do that. So he loves football. From that showed me that he loves football. He breathed football, when we sold Harry Kane, I wanted him in the swap deal
When I heard about that, I was like, this kid could be phenomenal. And that's what I'm still hoping as well. I'm hoping that he finds his feet. I'm hoping that he shows us what he's about, because he's already shown us what character he has. And I like to play with character. I like a player that comes to Tottenham and knows what they're up against when they put on that shirt. And it seems like he's got that type of character.
So is that a yes then? You think that he's worth 45 million and Spurs should sign him?
I think they can negotiate, but I think he's worth buying. I think he's worth purchasing, yes.
Terry, you're shaking your head.
Not for 45 million. So I agree with Ricky in that I think I've really been impressed by his attitude thus far, even just being on loan. He's really stepped up and he's done whatever's been asked of him. We've seen glimpses of what he can do. Right? We've seen glimpses at Bayern, and we saw that he played really well against Frankfurt.
Yeah.
The second half today, I don't think he was great today. I think we really missed when Richarlison, Madison, and Slinky went out. I felt like it was a much different pace and a much different game.
Yeah.
For 45 million, honest, at this point, we just haven't seen enough to justify that. Just the contrast. I think we could probably get Brian Mbeumo for 50 to 60. I would much rather have a proven Brian Mbeumo for 50 to 60 than spend 45 million for Tell. Also, I don't know why no one talks about him, but Manor Solomon's had an amazing season at Leeds.
Yeah,
we could have him for free, right? We could just bring him back. I would rather have Manor Solomon for free than Matisse Tell for 45 million. Listen, if in the next few games, if Matisse Tell comes out and he's the next coming, then maybe it'll justify it. But at this point today, I don't think he's justified 45 million.
Terry, let's stay with you. On 54 minutes, Basuma shot deflected to the goalkeeper. And then on 61 minutes, Spurs were awarded a penalty. The referee ended up going over to the monitor. Of course, it went to VAR. Romero fouled. Dominic Solanke put the ball down. I know for some time it looked like James Maddison was going to take the penalty, handed the ball to Dominic Solanke. What did you make of the incident? You said earlier that you felt that it was a stonewall penalty.
Yeah, I did. I mean, in real time, I didn't think it was the case. But when they slowed it down, I really love Romero's effort there, because he really made an effort to stick out his leg, and he forced the defender to kick the back of his leg there. So, you could say it's a little soft. But I still think by the letter of the law, you have to call that a penalty there. The way that Madison was approaching it, I really thought he was going to take it. And I was shocked. It's because I know that Madison's missed a few penalties in the past, but it was a nice little switcheroo at the end. And then the penalty itself, just like the Frankfurt one, I like this new method of Solanke. I don't think I've seen him do it before, but he did it against Frankfurt. But he's doing that Ivan Toney kind of pause, look where the goalkeeper is, and then just coolly slot it in. I felt confident going into the penalty, and just the way that he took it was just it was great. It was great. I mean, we had such a great penalty taker for such a long time in Harry Kane, and I think we have another one now in Solanke.
Gareth, what do you make of this technique of Dominic Solanke's taking these penalties?
It's great when it goes on. Like, that's the main thing. I actually was very surprised at the start of the season. I think Son got a penalty. Solanke was very, very good at penalties for Bournemouth. I've never been that convinced that Son is a good penalty taker. I know Kane had left and Son's kind of the main man, but I was very surprised that Solanke wasn't put on penalties earlier in the season. It'll be very interesting if Son comes back, who hits the penalties, but I think Solanke's got to be on penalties now. He kind of had them penalties for Bournemouth as well when he was there, so he was prolific from the penalty spot, and I think Terry's right. He is very calm and composed from the spot. So no, I was very like Terry, very confident that we would score the penalty and go 3-0 up, and you were kind of thinking at that stage, oh, maybe we can get 4 or 5. But look, someone else says to me before kick-off, Chris, 3-1. I'd have taken it all day long. 2 goals up in the semi-final of Europa League is a massive advantage. And the United result tonight probably makes it look like it's not an advantage, but nah, all day long I'd have took 2-0, 3-1, 4-2, 5-3, any scoreline by 2 goals, because it's a massive deficit to overturn for Bodø Glimt next week. So no, Solanke I think is going to be a very, very important player for us. I think he's had injury problems obviously this year. Before he got injured, I think he was absolutely flying. I think it's taken him a bit while now to get back up to speed again, but I think the last couple of games, thought he was our best player in the first half against Liverpool on Sunday. Thought he was very, very good. One of the players that actually did show something. Give Van Dijk and Kanate a tough time in that first half. Very good in Frankfurt away. So I think he's slowly now coming back to match fitness and sharpness. And Chris, that's one of the things that says earlier on about it's very important now we don't get too bogged down on protecting players, because we have to be ready for the final. Unfortunately, that means taking risks. But look, we've seen this week, Bergville got injured in training. So injuries can happen anyway. I understand with you don't be playing Van de Ven, Romero, and Bentancur and for 70, 80 minutes, but they still need to be playing 50, 60, 70 minutes in games, because we've seen it this week. Bergville has rolled his ankle in training, so players can get injured anywhere. He can get injured walking down a street or playing with their kids or anything. So we can't get into this kind of sort of protective mode now where we just throw games away and send reserve teams out. Look, I completely understand if we're playing Aston Villa a few days before the final, we rest players then. But we've got West Ham and we've got Crystal Palace before that. And I think the Crystal Palace game at home, Chris, will have a full week off, no midweek game. So that's games you have to go on day with near enough your full strength team, because if we sit and protect, we're not going to be ready for that final.
Yeah. Gal, let me ask Gareth a question quickly. Would you think it's viable, or would you take the risk of taking that first team and training them on a 3G pitch for like the next week, 4 days, 3 days, whatever it case? Would that be beneficial for the boys for next week? Like, and do you think that's a viable option that some of the coaching staff would think about and then take?
They did actually do that before the Tamworth game as well, Rick.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The reason.
Sorry, bro.
The reason I don't think it would be beneficial is, right, all of our players will have experience with that type of surface, and as Chris says, we played it on one at Tamworth. The conditions out there are going to be so different to what we've experienced before in terms of it's going to be cold. I looked at my weather app tonight, and I think it's going to be about 4 degrees out there. So we're actually going there at a good time. So technically 4 degrees out there is actually better weather than most. If we had been going there 6 months ago in the winter, it would have been probably minus 14 and snow. So we're actually going there at a good time. But the atmosphere out there will be, I don't know if you've ever watched the Arsenal documentary where Mikel Arteta brought the speakers out for You'll Never Walk Alone. It's so different. They play in Liverpool and Anfield. You can't replicate that same atmosphere. Or, Bodø Glimt have never had a Europa League semi-final at home. So no matter what preparation we do in terms of the pitch, or we're not, it's going to be a massive experience for them. So I just think you have to trust the players, have to trust their own ability. They cope with that atmosphere and then play our own football.
Gareth, let's stay with you because let's wrap this game up. On 65 minutes, Maddison went off. Kulusevski came on. On 69 minutes, Dominic Solanke had a shot which was blocked, deflected over. On 70 minutes, Romero headed just wide. And at this point, you felt like if Spurs were to just get one more goal, the game would be put to bed and that away leg would feel so much more comfortable. As I said at the start, there are a lot of people booking flights to the final at this point within the crowd. On 75 minutes, Dominic Solanke went off. Wilson Odobert came on. On 79 minutes, Destiny Udogie had a shot at the near post. He should have crossed, in my opinion. There were, very similar to the first half with Richarlison. There were players in better positions, and that could have killed the game. On 80 minutes, Kulusevski had a shot which was blocked. On 82 minutes, following a corner, Tell had a shot deflected for another corner. And then Gareth, finally talking about this match, on 83 minutes, Bodø Glimt got their goal, which was deflected in, making the score 3-1. What did you make of the goal that we conceded?
Sorry, Chris, before I get into the goal, just what you're saying there about some of the substitutes, and I kind of felt the game was petering out a bit, that it was only going to be maybe 3-0 towards just before they scored. I was kind of thinking, well, there's only about 7 minutes left. Our intensity had dropped at that stage, and there was a lot of subs and stuff. And you know, we mentioned Taylor earlier on there. Odegaard's another one, Chris, that concerns me. 30 million. You know, he's very, very tricky, but it rarely leads to anything. And I think if you're looking at 75 million for Odegaard and Tell, then we could have had Desiree Dewey for 60 million, and he looks a level, if not or 2 or 3 levels above. And I think that's the main issue at Spurs. We're always trying to penny pinch and get players in, and really the number one targets we never seem to get, and they always seem to go on and do things for clubs. So no, I just think 45 million for Tell when you have Odegaard, you've already paid 30 million for. I would rather go out and spend 50 million on somebody I think that can come under the first team and make that position their own, because we know Son's coming to the end. You know, if you've got Tell and Odegaard competing fat left side, doesn't fill you much confidence that any of them two are ready for this level at the moment. So that's a concern. Kulusevski, since he's come back, hasn't looked anywhere near sharp. And I think it's, like we said earlier on, Chris, about these next few games. I think it's important Kulusevski gets plenty of game time, because he's definitely lacking match fitness and sharpness since he come back from his injury, I think. Important he gets a lot of minutes now and gets ready for the final, because if he's not going to be starting, he's going to be one of your first subs coming on. So he needs to get ready. And I just think in general, and Terry mentioned this earlier on, that Tell come on for Richarlison doesn't have the same impact. Kulusevski come on for Madison doesn't have the same impact. Odegaard come on and Tell move to the middle. Doesn't have the same impact as Solanke. I just think all the subs tonight didn't really have an impact in the game. And I think that's a big concern. And over the next few games, we need to make sure players get a lot of game time and really get ready for the second leg and then the final as well. So that's something that needs to be addressed across the whole squad. These games are just not games now that we have to forget about. We have to almost use them as match practice for the final. But getting back to the goal, Chris, look, Bodø Glimt had little moments around the box at times where you were kind of thinking maybe they could do more, and they didn't. And I was thinking, I think under any other season, Chris, this Bodø Glimt team wouldn't be in the Europa League. I think that this year it's been quite a weak renewal, and it shows that if United and Spurs are in the final, when they've been so poor throughout the season, that it's probably a weaker Europa League than it's been for a long time. But look, we'll take it. It'll still be a Europa League trophy. But the goal that went done, they needed a helping hand, and they got a helping hand by a massive deflection. I thought Bentancur was one of our best players tonight, and when Bentancur plays like that, he's outstanding. But could we have done more? I'm not sure, because Bentancur has to try and stop the shot, and if you actually look at the shot in the replay, it would have straight in the Vicario's hands. There was no real danger of it. It was their only shot on target, I believe, in the whole game.
Yeah.
So, as defensively, we didn't really offer them much hope. The only other moment I think I can remember, was right before half time where they had a shot over the bar, where it came in the box.
Yeah.
It was about 10, 12 yards out. It was way over the bar. But defensively, I mean, we were very, very good. So it's hard to be too critical when a massive deflection goes on like that. So if we can replicate that same defensive performance next week, we're more than good for a goal. I think we're the second or third highest scorers in the Premier League, and we're sitting in a crazy position. So look, you can always count on Spurs for a goal. So I just think if we can replicate that next week, we're home and host.
So, final question for you all. Ricky, I'm going to start with you on this one. How do you see this next week going? What should Ange Postecoglou do? You know, Gareth talks about team selection there, about the league games. And Ricky, I also want to get your opinion on how you feel like Ange Postecoglou does approach these league games and how the players are so different in league games to Europa League games. Because, of course, us as Spurs fans, we always want to see our team win. Now, when you go, when we look at the stats here, Spurs are 16th in the Premier League table. West Ham United are 17th. 1 point separates the two sides. Spurs have 37. West Ham have 36. In the last 6 Premier League games, Spurs have won 1 and lost 5, so picking up only 3 points. West Ham in the last 6 games, they haven't won. They've drawn 3, they've lost 3, so they've also picked up 3 points in the last 6. And then, of course, we've got this Bodø Glimt semi-final second leg next Thursday away in Norway. Gareth's already said there, it's going to be 4 degrees. It's going to be freezing cold out there. I looked up videos earlier today, and when Lazio visited Norway, there was a lot of snow. It seemed very, very cold. And I'm sure next week when we were recording the podcast, I'm going to be looking like, I've got scarves on, hats on, and looking up like I'm going to be wrapping up very warm. And you guys are going to probably have the fans on, and it's going to be very, very hot here in the UK. But how do you see this game going on Sunday? How should Ange Postecoglou prepare for Thursday's massive game in Norway?
You know what? Every game against West Ham is a tough game, and it's one for the fans. Some would say that the rivalry against West Ham is more fierce than the ones against the Gooners. It's very close, but
Kyle Walker says that thing this week. Kyle Walker says that.
Chris.
Kyle Walker.
I'm not even joking. I swear to God. I heard Johnny Walker. I want to double Johnny Walker. That's what I heard.
Kyle Walker actually says that during the week that West Ham was a really, really fierce game compared to Arsenal.
Yes. Even for the players and for the crowd, right? So it is very, very close. So this is
Ricky,
not a meaningless game.
I've got to admit, I'm struggling a little bit because my left ear has been blocked for the last couple of weeks. And I've not had any alcohol this evening. I'm not in your boat.
See, you've missed me. Don't just tell everybody you've missed me, Chris. That's all you need to say.
Yeah.
All right. But no,
I don't get how an American can understand Gareth better than a British man. Gareth, I can understand everything you're saying, bud.
Terry, it's called being absolutely intoxicated.
Ricky,
I haven't drank this one before. This is my first time trying this one, and yeah, it's working. So,
Ricky, I think you've been as rude as my dad actually to Gareth, because whenever my dad sees Gareth in the pub, he says, sorry, mate, can't understand a word you're saying.
Do you know what it is? It's my phone as well. I need an upgrade as well, but all I can hear is the bass of Gareth's voice, and like I say, with drunk heroes, it's not helping. Normally, when I'm on the water and I'm at home and in my little spot, I've got Gareth covered. It was just I just keep hearing the bass, and then I'm like, I ain't got a clue. I can't make it out. So sorry, Gareth. I apologize, my friend.
Ricky, you're a cop.
But it's Spurs' fault.
You heard that one?
It's Spurs' fault. All right. But no, West Ham is always a tough game, okay? And it always means something to us. And whatever team we put out there has to be a team that's willing to win. And I don't think that Anne just put a team out there, and I don't think a team's gone out there not to go out there and win. I think circumstance, and I think poor performance at times, and I think naivety at times have lost us many a game. And that cloud of negativity, we have to, and we've had many moments like this, but we have to use the positivity of this, and we have to springboard this into West Ham, where it is another meaningful game for the fans, both sets of fans. And at first, before listening to Gareth, while he was speaking, I could understand everything, bro. But when he was speaking about getting certain players minutes, and I think Ange has actually done well to manage the minutes, especially of those players that are coming back from injury.
Yes.
So part of me wanted to go a full 11 change, including Kinski against West Ham. But then after listening to Gareth and just kind of digesting that, it's going to have to be a bit of a mix and match for those reasons. So I still think that we're going to go out there to win. And I still think that the attitude of the boys should be to go out there to win. I don't think going out there to lay down tools or to lose does anything for us positively. Whether that's resting players or just it doesn't do anything. And this is the battle at the bottom. We've had the battle of the bridge. Now this is the battle at the bottom above relegation between Tottenham and West Ham. So we got to go out there and give it some. Do you know what I mean? We've got to show up, turn up, because there has to be some pride about wearing that shirt, regardless of the circumstances. There has to be. So for all of the rubbish that we've dealt with, please springboard off of this. And even if you mix and match aside, show us, go out there to win, and show us that you're about it, and show us that, you know, that you guys are really ready, and even for them to prepare for next week. And I agree with Gareth again, because I was listening when I could hear. But I agree with Gareth again in the sense that, you know, when I asked that question about the 3G pitch and whether you train on that, you know, listening to him, I kind of felt that, oh, yeah, you know what? Actually, if you kind of put too much emphasis on this pitch and on the weather and on the circumstances, then do you go out there and play your best football? Do you go out there and play naturally? Do you go out there and do what you do? Or do you worry about what's coming against you? And that's where I agree with him again and kind of go, you know what? Just go out there and give it everything and go and get that first goal again, put them under tremendous pressure, and we will manage the game and get through to that final. So
Ricky,
yeah, that was a long-winded way, but yeah.
Ricky, Spurs will get an opportunity also. They train on Bodø's pitch the day before as well.
Great point, bro. Great point.
Yep. Ricky, do you want to give us 2 score predictions? One for the West Ham game, one for the Bodø Glimt away game?
Yes, for West Ham, I'm going to go 3-2. I know that's crazy, but West Ham have been going through it. I think Potter hasn't really found his feet, but I think he's been unlucky a couple of weeks. And 3-2 to Spurs, of course, in case anybody was confused. But I see them scoring against us for Potter and for their season. It is their cup final as always, but I see us coming out on top. And then against Bodø, I'm going to go 8-0. What? No,
what?
A convincing win. I'm going to go. I'm going to go 2-0 out there.
2-0 to Spurs. Yep, nice one.
Absolutely.
Terry, same question to you.
I don't agree with the boys. It's going to be an unpopular opinion, but I feel like we should field like Dane Scarlett, Damalo Ajayi, Timo, Sergio Reguilon. I know it's not a popular opinion, but I think it's such a rare opportunity what we have against being in the semifinal and getting to the final. I think you have to protect that at all costs. I understand the points about pride. I understand the points about momentum, and I still think it's just so much more important. I think the last time I was on, Adrian had said this, and he said there really isn't that much difference between finishing 17th and finishing 13th. I know that's not a big popular opinion either. I agree with that. So I wouldn't put any resources into this game here. I think we have to be honest with ourselves. We have 19 losses in the Premier League this year, which is crazy. That's 2 more than Burnley had when they were relegated 2 seasons ago. There's a good likelihood we could end up with 23 losses this year. But it will be okay. If we win the Europa League, that will have been worth it there. So I actually don't see, I'm going to say 2-1 West Ham this Sunday, and then a 2-2 draw in cold Bodø next week.
Thank you, Terry. Gareth, what about you?
Look, I hear what Terry's saying, but there's still players that need minutes. Spence can come back onto the team. Kulusevski needs game time. Richarlison needs game time. So you can still field a strong enough team that can go to West Ham and compete. Brennan likes a Dane Scarlett. He's not going to feature in the European games is pointless at this stage of the season. We need to play players that are on the fringes or need minutes. I think Sarr needs minutes. I would throw Basuma in again. He's not played a lot recently. Throw him in again, see what he offers. So we can still field a strong team whilst protect certain players. Unfortunately, I think we're going to see I think you'll see Davis and Danzo at the back. I think Romero and Van de Ven, Van's just so feared of losing any one of them two that they'll play. So you probably will see a lot of changes. And the fact that Berville's got injured limits our ability to rotate in midfield. So, look, who knows? But I just hope for the travelling fans, Chris. We haven't won. I don't think we've won away from home in a London derby all season. This is our last opportunity. You've been going all year round. And look, West Ham are there for the taking. They've been struggling all year. So it would be great to get a win and take out on the Thursday. Unfortunately, I'm going to go for a draw. I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw. And on Thursday against Bodø, I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw.
Okay. Thank you, Gareth.
What about
Gareth?
you, Chris? What about you? What about you, brother? What are your thoughts and feelings? Because it is West Ham. We do have a major semi-final. I think, Terry, Gareth, we've all put some good points forward. What do you think? You go home and away. What is your heart saying? What are you feeling right now, bro, about both of those games and your score prediction? Yeah, mate, I'm gonna give it to you too.
All right. I agree to some extent with Terry, and I didn't ever feel like I would say this because, for the years that we've done this podcast, I've always said that I always want the strongest possible 11. But what a great opportunity we have in the Europa League to get to that final and, to lift a trophy and to be playing Champions League football. You've seen how special it is in the Europa League. We know how special those Champions League nights are, and we know what it would mean to us fans, the manager, the chairman, everyone connected to the football club to get in the Champions League. So, what I don't like is the fact that week by week, month by month, we keep breaking unwanted records, losing all of these Premier League games, etc., etc. And it's the manner that we've lost some of these games as well. But does it really matter? If it does mean that we are going to get to a Europa League final and have that great opportunity of playing Champions League football next season.
Would it matter to you, Chris? Would it matter to you? End of the season, we lift that trophy. Would all of this pain?
Yeah.
Would it fade away for you, or would it still be like in the forefront of your mind?
Well, I feel like it's another big conversation to have, Ricky, because
true. Sorry.
If we win the Europa League, does Ange Postecoglou keep his job? Do we then appoint another manager? That's another big conversation to have.
Chris, do you remember that point you always made about players taking opportunities and there's places up for grabs? Do you think one of the main issues that Ange has at the moment is if he rotates the team on Sunday, you could nearly pick a team on Thursday anyway? If Bergvall had been fit tonight, Basuma wouldn't have played. So it was just on the left-hand side. And if Son was fit, Richarlison wouldn't have played. So do you almost feel that the players coming in know, even if they play well, they're not going to get into the team on Thursday?
Do you know what? Every single footballer wants to be playing in the big games. And there will be some very disappointed players that they didn't get in that starting 11 this evening because, the European games, big European games, and it's going to be an interesting one because these remaining Premier League games, these players have got to be playing and performing at the highest level in order. If Spurs do get to the Europa League final, every single player is going to want to be playing in that match. So it's going to be very interesting to see the team selection, who Ange fancies, who he wants to give game time, etc. It's going to be an interesting one. And also going back to your point, Ricky, is that, the West Ham away game, it's a London derby. No Spurs fan wants to go into that game. With the possibility of losing, we want to be winning these sorts of games.
We lost at Palace, we lost at Arsenal, we lost at Chelsea, we lost at Fulham. We've lost all our London derbies away from home. So
it'd be nice to finish the season on some sort of high in winning our remaining games. The teams that we're playing. Whether we're going to be playing in the Europa League final or not, you want to be finishing on a high. So my score predictions, Ricky, I'm going to go with a draw on Sunday. at West Ham, and I feel like it's going to probably be a draw as well in Bodø Glimt, which of course will be smiling and we'll be in the Europa League final. So I feel like we're in that final. So yeah,
Come on.
Yes, Chris.
I'm
Chris
going
is
to
committed. Chris
I'm
is committed to it now.
I'm going to start with a positive and end with one. So we're going to be playing that final.
Come on.
Come on.
Terry, thank you so much for joining us this evening. And I'm now sitting in this car park, and it is 1:05 in the morning. So thank you. I didn't think that we would be going for so long talking about this game, but it's been a great discussion
Gareth's
this
fault.
evening.
It's Gareth's fault.
It's always your fault. Terry, thank you so much for joining us. Please tell everyone where they can find you on social media, what you're up to at the moment.
Blackout.
No? Okay. Blackout in New York.
Oh, no.
Gareth, where can people find you? What are you up to at the moment?
All good, Chris. You can find me at that at Gareth Hotspurs underneath. You can also find me in Bilbao, Monday 19th of May, to Friday the 23rd of May. So if anyone wants to chat to me out there, you can call me up, and I'll be out in a bar in Bilbao, probably an Irish bar, but you'll find me about there somewhere. But Chris, thanks for having me on. Great night. Let's make sure next week we take care of it.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Gareth. Thank you so much for your time and input. Terry, where can people find you if you'd like them to find you?
I wouldn't like them to find me, but thank you again for having me on. It was a pleasure as always, and it was really great to be on for a European night like this, and such a great performance from the team. Ricky, again, it was such a pleasure to finally meet you. Gareth, it's a pleasure as well as always. Gareth, I do have to say, my American friends love the way that you say the word poor, and I love it too. So I don't know, it's something about the way that you say the word poor is just great. It is great.
Per.
So, yeah, per PURR. It's great. It's great.
Yeah. Sadly, we've heard him say it a lot this season, which is not
Unfortunately. So
yeah.
Terry,
Chris, thanks again for hosting
pleasure to
and-
be on me too. Terry,
Yeah.
very good. Very good channel regular. I enjoy being on me as well.
Thank you. Yeah, Ricky, cheers. I'm gonna have a drink
Cheers,
now.
brother.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Cheers, man.
No. It doesn't need any encouraging.
Right. Chris, you're such a trooper for doing this so late in your car. So thank you again. Really appreciate it. And let's do this next week.
Thank you, Terry. Thank you so much. Ricky, lastly with you, where can people find you? What are you up to at the moment? You've got a busy schedule, haven't you?
Yeah, I'm all over the place. I am all over the place. But, you know, when you're busy, it's good. It's good. It means you've been blessed, man. So, yes. What am I doing? Okay. I'm hosting a night with Danny Dyer on the 9th of May at AFC Wimbledon Stadium. We're going to have a Q&A. We've got comics. We've got singers. It's a charity event. All the money goes to kids in really dire situations. I didn't mean to do that, but I've been drinking. And it's a really lovely event. But, you know, I've worked with Danny before on EastEnders, and we're both East London boys. So it's going to be a great night where I will be on water because I will be hosting. And it will be a great night. Danny's always a funny guy, but he's got a great story as well. So whoever's coming down to that, check it out on my Instagram. The flyer's up. I've pinned it. So it's the first one that you see. That'll be 9th of May, like I say. And also, I've just had a film come in as well, which is a horror version of Aladdin. Again, I'm not allowed to say a lot about it, but from what I've seen and what I've read,
you better be quiet then.
Yeah, I know, because I've been drinking as well, because I could but I'm not going to. But
yeah,
it's so I should be filming that, and then I had a recall for next week for a really lovely short film. So yes, it's all go trying to make things happen, but I've missed you guys, and I just want to say it's great to be on with Chris, Terry, and Gareth tonight after a beautiful win, guys. These nights are. These nights are why we do the podcast. These nights are why we come together across the world through these platforms and through our team. All there is for say. let's enjoy this. Let's carry on pushing them. Let's carry on encouraging them. Let's carry on believing, for goodness sake. Let's carry on looking towards the positive light rather than looking at the negative. The negative is always going to be there. That is always going to be there. So let's carry on. Let's stay together, stay Hotspur, and take this crazy train to the final in Bilbao. Come on, you Spurs.
Ricky, thank you so
Love you
much,
all,
and
man.
best of luck with everything. Terry,
Thank you,
thank
bro.
you. Gareth, thank you. And thank you for watching, everyone. Thank you for listening, especially if you're still with us. And there are nearly 2,000 people still with us watching live. So thank you so much for your incredible input as well. We will be back after the West Ham game. Ricky will be here with me, hopefully after a win in the Premier League on Sunday afternoon on the water. Yep, indeed. But yeah, we'll be back on Sunday. Enjoy the rest of the week, and come on, you Spurs.
Come on.